Are you ready? Ready to bring a revolution to your relationships? Ready for the experiences on your dating adventure to evolve? Ready for more passion, intimacy, connection, and love in your relationship? Ready to heal past relationship wounds? You're in the right place. I'm Alan, the love engineer, and this is the Relationship Revolutions podcast. In this series, you'll get guidance and tips from me, interviews from other relationship experts, insights from couples who already have a great relationship, and other mind-opening conversations. G'day, and welcome to the latest episode of Relationship Revolutions, where this week I am joined by a good friend I've known for many, many years, although we haven't really communicated that much the last couple of weeks, years, whatever it is, I don't know. And I don't think either of us do, but Jeremy Roadrook, I'm sure you'll find, is an amazing guy with an incredible story to tell and truckloads of wisdom to share with us as well. So, Jeremy, first two questions. How are you and where are you?
Well, first off, I'm amazing, same as always, because it's all BS, belief systems. So if you just tell yourself you're amazing, it's very easy to feel more amazing than if you don't. And number two, I am currently based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, USA.
I love it. One area I would like to get to at some point in my life, but hey-ho, it won't be today. So I know you've written a book on parenting, and
Yes.
To my knowledge, I've never found another author that does this that actually guarantees the results of that training.
So I wrote that book in 2012. I was single. I wasn't dating. I didn't have kids, and I'm writing a parenting book. So like, what gives you any qualifications whatsoever, monkey butt? So it was like, I'm going to put a money back guarantee on it. So try my games. It's called Your Best Child Ever. Is this game worth winning? And fundamentally, all kids do two things, right? We all tell stories and we all play games. And that's sort of endemic to the human species, cross-cultural. Throughout all of our time on this planet, we tell stories and we play games. The story is our rationalization and justification. The game is our behavior, and our game is driven to motivate energy in positive ways or manipulate energy in negative ways. But basically, all human interaction comes down to that most basic level. And so at the time, I had been teaching martial arts for 17 and a half years, and I kept seeing the same patterns in families. I saw the love, but I also saw the conflict. And it was like, you guys are just playing different games. Right? Like a little kid stand next to mom and dad in the store, no energy, no validation, no acknowledgement, nothing. This is boring. Kid runs away, mom and dad freak out, chase. The chase me game is way more fun than the stand next to mom and dad game. So then we as parents just change the game and like every 15, 20, 30 seconds, validate what our kid's doing that we want. Be like, oh my gosh, you're standing right next to me, paying attention and being helpful. Incredible. High five. And if we just keep feeding them that stuff at a young age, and now obviously as they get older, the games get bigger. But if we keep feeding energy for the stuff we want, everything gets easier. And so I structure out, here's essentially 12 different games. And the bonus game is happiness, which is more decision than it is destination. But it's just like, here's how to start setting your kids up for winning. So self-control, focus, respect, self-discipline, self-confidence. That's kind of the base. Then we go to the bonus, the second round of higher level games, self-motivation, self-direction. So it's like, here's how to win. And no fault, no blame, no guilt, no shame, just impact, feedback, adjust, continue. And life and love gets easier. Parenting gets easier. When you make it about yourself and your wants or your needs, or, my kid's being oppositionally defiant. Are they, or are you just not very well practiced as a leader yet?
Interesting question. Always remember that when I was a kid, not when I was a kid, when my kids were younger, that was this one day. My son was having a bad day. I don't know what was going on. And it got to I was doing the dad thing. I was doing the man thing, trying to fix the parent, trying to love him, trying to solve his problem, take away his pain. And it got to the point where he just looked me straight in the face and screamed at me and says, "Leave me alone." I was like, shit, what's going on here? Will you come and talk to me when you're ready? So, yeah. Okay. So I left him be for a bit and thought, okay, maybe he's a bit like me then, because I don't like people digging into me when I'm having a rough time. So from that day onwards, whenever I could tell he was upset or something, and his sister's trying to sort things out, so let him have his space. He'll come and talk to me when he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And from that day forward, our relationship completely changed.
Nice. Yeah, for my world, that is the masculine going in the cave, right? I'm running too many threads. I've got too many data points. I've got too much information. And for the masculine side of us, we don't want to just have a answer. We want to have the answer. And that means we got to go to the well. We got to lower the bucket. We got to get the answer. And so, sometimes what'll happen is like they're trying to answer this thing and we keep changing the question, the construct, like yes or no. So we went true or false, didn't work. Then we go multiple choice and we start lobbing guesses at them, didn't work. And then we go to essay question, didn't work. And we're escalating pressure and getting louder and louder. And they're still trying to like sort through all the threads in their head. And so it's exactly that. It's I need to go to the cave, because all you're doing is I'm trying to answer the initial question and I'm trying to answer the multiple choice. And now I'm trying to answer the essay. I'm getting nowhere and you keep putting pressure on me. So it's just like squeezing a jelly donut. Stuff's going to spurt out sideways. And so in my world, we make a distinction, the circle and the triangle. Circle, feminine context, big, masculine, delete, triangle, dial in. And we can just ask the kids, hey, are you in a circle or a triangle? And they're like, I'm in the triangle. All right, cool. Is there any support I can give you, or do you just need time? Awesome. How much time do you think you need? We'll ballpark it. Because it's all heuristics. It's all fuzzy logic. It's not, I need 10 minutes. Okay, 10:01. What's your answer? Let's go, kid. Like, I got a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old right now. Like, they're going to give me a answer, and it's okay. Yeah. It's like, all right, where's the trend line? Where's the direction? Where's the momentum? And we'll just we'll get there. So that I need to be in the cave. All right, cool. But if you're dealing with a feminine person and they say, leave me alone, and then you leave them alone, they get mad at you because they don't want to be left alone. They want connection. They just don't feel like they deserve connection, or they don't know how to receive connection. They don't know how to love themselves or love you in the moment. They're so caught up in their stuff, but they don't want to be alone in the cave because it makes them feel abandoned. It's like, oh. And so it's like being able to negotiate that, or being able to discern that, 1000% a skill. Simple to understand, but very hard to live sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have a 13-year-old twins, a stepson that's 9, and a stepdaughter that's 6.
I love 9. Like 9 is my favorite age because like they still sometimes have that like please the authority figure type of energy. I wanted to be a good person, but at the same time they're cracking into that I'm my own person, don't tell me what to do. And hint for all the parents, listen to what your kids say about life and about the future for themselves when they're 9, because very often they will create that in their future. There's a guy I know, and at 9 years old wrote a letter to his teacher. He wanted to work in an assisted living facility and take care of elderly patients that were having trouble with X, Y, and Z. He's in his 50s and he is running an assisted living facility. He has 400 employees in the complex, knows all the employees, knows all of their kids by sight. This is one of the most engaged bosses I've ever seen. He freaking loves his job. And he has the letter he wrote his teacher when he was 9 framed in his office. And it's like, damn, that's incredible. So 9 is such a powerful year.
Mm. So I'm just thinking about the circle and the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would work for adults in their relationships as well.
100%.
Because so much of the time we don't understand each other.
Yeah.
Even some of us who have been on that personal development journey, whether they've read the love languages or Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and got some, shall we say, surface level understandings, but we still operate very, very differently.
Oh, 100%. And that's the fun and the exploration if you let it, right? Because it is so different. And it's like, what can I appreciate in my partner that's not how I see things, that's not how I hear things, that's not how I feel things. So my partner's bringing to me this whole other slice of the world, and how can I appreciate that versus you said it wrong? Right. And so many people get caught up in battling for being right. Like, I've been doing this a long time, working with people 3 to 94, and I've seen so many different patterns of behavior Like I'm at the point now, I don't think mental health, mental illness. All I focus on is mental process, because what is the story you're telling to then drive that behavior? What's the story to justify the game? And if you don't like the game, go back to the story. What must be true in their world to say this, to operate like this, to do like this? It requires an ability to get out of your own way. And the more you can get away from fault, blame, guilt, shame, it's just feedback. It's just information. Like you both are alive, right? Oh, okay. So there's no failure here. You know, for a lot of guys, they take their wives complaining personally. And it's like, well, what if she's just telling you where she's at and what she's feeling, and she's revealing what she needs, and it's not about you in the slightest? It feels personal, but it's not actually personal.
Yeah.
Right. And so like left brain triangle can handle 5 to 9 things. And then unconsciously we start looping ourselves. Like when people are in overwhelm, first thing I'll tell them is write it down. Because once you write it down, you've externalized the internal, you could see it. And then you realize you're looping. It's like maybe you have 15 or 20 things, but it feels like 87,000 because you're trying to hold it in your head and it's just this whirling thing. When you write down the list, you can't loop because, I already wrote that down. And the act of writing it down slows our brain down because our body we can only write one word at a time. We can only type one word at a time. So that slows that mental churn just in the act of writing it down. That activates more of our left brain, logical, sequential, delete the unessential. But the right side of the brain, the circle, the feminine, cook spaghetti, everything connects to everything, infinite storage and recall, music, sound, songs. Most adults, if you played the first 2 measures of a song from their childhood, they can tell you what they were doing, sometimes what they were wearing, where they were in the world when they heard that song for the first time, or they'll have like really strong emotions tied to that song. So there's all these triggers, there's all these jumping points, you know, you and I know them as anchors, but there's all these jumping off points that we can play with. And all my partner can do, all my wife can do is give me feedback, right? Very early in our marriage, she was mad about something. I wasn't listening, something, I don't know. She flung like a banana at me. And some people are like, oh, that's disrespectful. How dare you? I busted up laughing. Because like she can't disrespect me without my permission. I just don't give her that ability.
Yeah.
All she can do is communicate to me where she's at. And if I have that belief, I have that story. Oh my God, babe, bananas, really? Thank you. It wasn't a knife. Obviously, I'm not paying enough attention to you. Tell me more what's going on. Because I realize I can give to her and I can fill her up. Then I know she has that available to give back to me later. You know, it's not a transactional thing. It's just realizing, my partner's depleted. Cool. But I can laugh about it and I can engage with her. And then when she wants to get my attention, she's like, hey, do I need a banana? Oh, yes, ma'am. What's going on? Like, it's a pattern interrupt that she knows how to get my attention in a playful way to call me to show up. For other couples, it may be she's on her phone and she's in front of him, intentionally ignoring him by being on her phone. That's a call to connect. But then he's like, oh, she doesn't want to talk to me. He takes it personal, and then he goes in the cave. Now she feels abandoned. We just tear each other apart for a lack of just understanding or appreciating where our partner is.
Yeah. A couple of times I've taken the phone off her and said, let's talk.
Yeah.
Doesn't always go down well.
No, what the hell are you doing? Don't touch my stuff. But other times, I really want to talk. It's like, that's the risk, right? The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. Take the shot, punk.
Yeah, she's my partner's a physics teacher, so she spends quite a lot of time through the day in a masculine energy, and kids these days, don't get the discipline that we used to, not necessarily that the prehistoric ways are the best ways.
Right.
But she'll have students turning around telling them to F off, and apart from saying, can you leave this classroom, please? Because that's not acceptable. She can't really do anything. Give it attention, say ignore it, and all that kind of thing. And then she was doing because she runs the Pride Club in the lunchtime as well. And she was doing a presentation for some of the staff to try and get some of them on board, and met with a lot of negativity. And she didn't come home in the best of moods that day. So you can imagine the offload in the Meadow report she shared with me when we got home.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I know this is nothing to do with me, so just listen and listen and listen and listen. She got home at, about 6 o'clock in the evening, and at 10 o'clock at night she says, I need to email Katie. I feel better now. So, what would have happened if I said, why don't you just email Katie like 3 hours ago or something? And she says, oh, you'd probably been shot or had a frying pan in your face. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she wasn't ready. She needed to kind of process and take the tension down. Yeah. My answer in that, when my wife needs to vent, my first question is, do I need a sledgehammer? Someone needs me to go away? Like, is that what needs to happen here? Because I'm more than happy to commit violence. Not a problem. And she's like, no, that's not what we need. Oh, okay. Just checking. Right. But I kind of I get way ahead of her to what's my conclusion? Oh, it's not, I have to hurt someone. Oh, okay. Then yes, now I'm available. Tell me what's going on. Let's dish. Do I need to cook food? Do you need some wine? Make her as comfortable as possible. Tell me the story. Give me the download.
Throw chocolate at her from the opposite end of the room.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to just go Starbucks, get a decaf? I know it's late, but just go to Starbucks, get a decaf. She can watch herself. She's cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go for a walk. We have ways to de-escalate physically, but absolutely that mental drain that she just needs to stop the kettle from boiling over kind of deal. 100%. And that's a gift. Guys that are in the audience, you need to understand, if you can give your wife, give your woman that space to just allow that emotion out, no judgment, no fixing, no analysis, but just wow. If you haven't seen the Chris Rock routine about how was your day, is that's a 45-minute conversation. And you only got to say 4 things, right? And he has this, it's really funny, and it's semi-sexist because the way he's delivering it, but at the same time there's a truism in it as well. But I would disconnect it from women and just say the feminine, because sometimes guys need to just vent in verbal diarrhea, just I can't believe it. Blah, blah, blah. That's how we stop ourselves from committing violence. We're punching stuff. It's just getting that emotional.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're back to balance.
100%. You're allowed to feel whatever it is you feel. What you do with that feeling, though, that has bigger consequences, right? So that internal, it's okay to have that pressure, that tension, that drive, that desire. Might want to get curious if it keeps coming up in a negative way a lot. There may be something unresolved to deal with. But what you think and what you feel, that's your business. What you do with it starts to cause it to become other people's business, And that's where it's you got to walk that back a little bit, or have patterns or strategies to just take down that tension.
So what's your take on all this talk online of, shall we say, toxic masculinity?
Yeah. It's not toxic masculinity or femininity. It's people in scarcity, right? People that are still in their wounds unconsciously. Anybody who's caught up in fault, blame, guilt, shame, anybody who is creating unwinnable games, unconsciously, they're still in their wound, and they are projecting that forward, right? So the work I do with men, which is my primary client base, the boy, fault, blame, guilt, shame, the guilt and shame, that's the wound itself. And as long as you're in that place, or you dogpile on yourself when you make a mistake, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that. God, I'm just the dumbest mother. You're winning the poor me game. Congratulations. How's that helping? You're in the garden, you're eating worms, you're tearing your clothes, you're covering yourself in dirt. Fantastic. Who's that help? How does that drive forward? I understand the emotion, but what's that actually doing for you? With all the work that's out in the world on mental health, people are more depressed, people are more anxious. It's the more we talk about the problems, the more problems we have, versus what are the solutions. So this idea of toxic masculine, well, feminine can be toxic too, because it's people operating out of an instinctive need for self-preservation. And when you're in that frame of reference, everything is a threat, right? If I offer you a compliment, oh, you sexist bastard. But if I don't offer you a compliment, oh, you're so insensitive and so unobservant. It's almost like I don't have the problem. It's almost like you're just spoiling for a reason to justify why you're upset. You're looking for a story to justify a game, and your game drives your impact and your results. And it's so much easier to weaponize society, weaponize the culture, versus take ownership in yourself and go, what am I doing to change the conversation in my own life, to not harm or do damage to other people? Part of my life, Kung Fu Master, teach sexual violence prevention in colleges, and personal safety and anti-abduction to children and falling safely to elders. And I've done that for a very long time. There was a lady in New York City who has a t-shirt, and it's the GPS of her fighting off a guy who attacked her in a bathroom. She survived, but it's a GPS of because she was out running when this guy attacked her. And I comment on that. I'm like, hell yeah, that's the kind of stuff I want for my daughter, like that self-awareness, this, that, and the other. And some random woman just like went off on me and like tried to tear me a new one. And it's like, well, you should da da da. Like, well, actually, professionally, I have done that now for over 25 years, and I've done this, this, and this, and in the LGBTQ plus community, and with kids as young as 4, and with elders as senior as 94, and it didn't matter what I was doing because she just needed a justification to be mad at me for existing, right? I was just an NPC, a non-player character in her story, and it didn't matter what I'm actually doing or who I actually am because she wasn't seeing me and she wasn't interested in a genuine conversation, which is fine. She is where she is. I'm not going to make her wrong for she's just where she is. But I can't do anything to support her on her journey other than extricate myself as cleanly and quickly and easily and softly as possible because I'm not adding value in her life. I'm just adding more reference points to her pain. Well, crap. Not what I intend. You know what? I think we just have two different models of the world and two different ways of experiencing things. And, I'm sorry that whatever you've been through has taken you to this place, but, I respect your where you're at and what you have to say. And she's still pissed off at me for that too. It's like, how dare you invalidate me? I don't need your permission to exist. I wasn't saying you had my permission to exist, but I stopped the exchange after that because like I can't win because there is no win. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh crap, she's in her stuff and I'm the wrong person. I had a client that was abused by a man and I knew her husband and she was struggling with some stuff and I offered to, help her with some things and was like, yeah, we made that happen. And after the first session, it was like, it was too much for her. And I was like, hey, no harm, no foul. Like if I have the wrong equipment, if the mask, right, the energy that I have, but it's unpalatable to you, doesn't matter what I know or what I can do, it doesn't work for you. That's perfectly fine. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for having the courage to be able to face this. You're amazing. I've got 3 ladies I'm going to connect you with, and maybe one of them, they're trained in similar skills. They may be a better match for you. It would be my pleasure. Would that be okay with you? Right? Because she's where she is. That's okay. Right? But now, are there people doing horrible, bad stuff to people? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not a trait of unique to masculinity because femininity can do the same thing, right? It's people.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's not the energy that is toxic. It's some of the behaviors that are result from those inner wounds that haven't been healed yet.
Absolutely. Right. And that's for me, like as soon as fault, blame, guilt, shame shows up, I already know the inner child's not safe. And as soon as the inner child is not safe, then there's a bunch of attendant games and structures and stories that show up. So for guys, boy, man, king. You're not going to get a king if he has to fight to be heard. But if he has to fight to be heard, his inner child's not going to be safe. So very often he will overcompensate. And now it's a caricature of masculinity because it's an overcompensation because just like the woman that was arguing with me online, he's doing end runs around and worst case scenarioing and defending against, basically it's a bazooka going after a fly. Yeah. Way overkill, dude. Like walk it back, take a deep breath. But it's that wound and that fear of you're going to hit my tender spot. You're going to hit my no-no square. It's like, nah, just heal the no-no square and be done with it. It's so much easier and faster.
Yeah, most definitely. Not necessarily the easiest straight away.
People got to be ready. But that's like, do you want to be right or do you want to get results? Well, I want results. Cool. Let's just remove the roadblocks. But not everyone's ready to just go to the dark underbelly of it all and like, let's just get to the source. But if we start there, we get done faster. Like, let's go. Let's get this done.
So I'm guessing your take on the red pill community will be fairly similar to toxic masculinity.
Yeah, red pill, men going their own way. Like here's the deal. If you need a label to justify where you are, what you're doing, then you still have work to do. Right? You're not integrated. You're not as strong as you think you are. It's like, I did a clip a long time ago. It was like 15 seconds. And basically, if you need your woman to submit to you, you're pathetic. Right? But it's need. Now, if you want your woman to submit to you, different thing, because it's a want, that's a desire. That's something co-creative. It's something consensual. But if a guy is in a place where he needs his woman to submit to him, like, dude, you're weak because you're not really seeing the full complexity and the full power and the full availability of this person in your life. You're seeing them as a tool to serve you and to stopgap whatever deficiencies you have inside yourself. Like, get over yourself. And so like red pill, incel, MGTOW, all of that stuff, it's weaponizing the wound. And it's guys, when I talk about boy, man, king, nurture the boy, master the man, lead like a king. The MGTOW red pill guys are so in their wound, and all they're doing is they're so dialed in on power and disrespect, and they're so wounded still. They're so easy to manipulate or inflame because they're stuck in this power mode, and they feel disempowered, so they have to take back power. Dude, once you become power, you don't care. It's like, do you know how to eat? Do you know how to take a spoon and put it in your mouth? Cool. You don't care. You don't walk around going, oh, I have the best spoon technique for my pie hole. It's like, congratulations, big fucking deal. Like, what is that power being used for? And that's the king, the vision, the power, protecting and providing. But it's not, you will receive me, woman. It's like, damn, dude. It's like, who craps in your Wheaties? Calm down. Don't snap into that Slim Jim. Just breathe, dude. Like, and so for me, like, all of that stuff, it's weaponized. But you go the other side, there's feminists that are like, men should just be kept for breeding stock and otherwise chemically emasculated and castrated. It's the same energy, right? It's just two polarity shifts, but it's the same wound, and they're overcompensating. And it's like, cool. Are you really happy with yourself? You're drinking, you're distracting yourself with risky behavior, you're constantly angry and defensive, you're constantly screaming to be heard. How's that working? Do you want to be 60 years old and still be like this? Do you want to be a granddad or a grandma and still be like this and say those things to little tiny children, right? Because it's like, that's why I like working with dads, because once a guy has a kid, a bunch of stuff shifts, and his relationship to legacy in the future is demonstrably different because his life is about more than just himself. Men have options. Dads have responsibilities in a different way. And I really like working with dads because of that. But that whole red pill, MGTOW, masculine going to fight back against feminine, it's like, nah, all that stuff is weakness, right? When masculine is respected and treasured and honored, and feminine is respected and treasured and honored, well, they're both appreciated, that's when everything works the best.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea in my world. Mental health, mental illness, it's a false dichotomy. It's not either one, because they presuppose there is some perfect human psychology that doesn't exist. There's no one person who is the most perfectly, like, that's the neural template of our entire species. It's all messy, wibbly wobbly. We all have attachments. We all have doubts and fears and insecurities.
Yeah.
The unconscious, 2 million, 11 million bits of data a second. The conscious, 20 to 100 bits of data a second. We all delete, distort, generalize. We all have internal referential frames that are personal. Like, none of that matters, right? None of us are neuroperfect. All of us are neurodiverse in some way, shape, or form. There's one human ideal, but there's right now 8 billion different styles of humanity. And so rather than mental health, mental illness, mental process. What's the story you're telling yourself to get to the place and the behaviors that you're exhibiting? And how do we change the story? And keyword, how do we change the story? Because, like, I see so much of our culture caught up in why, and they can give you all the labels, and they still don't know what to do with it. They still don't know where to go with it.
Yeah.
Right. I had a client who, 11 years of therapy, went from I'm effed up to my family was effed up to my parents were dysfunctional. Cool. Doesn't tell him how to be a better husband. Doesn't tell him how to be a better father. Doesn't tell him how to prevent these patterns from happening and going forward. All it does is gives him beautiful language to explain why he's stuck. And my question to him was, what do you want? If you could have it perfect, if you could have your ideal family, what do you want? Write it down and then tell me about it. Because I'm looking for where's the emotion, where's the emotive, where's the energy of that story, because then we can begin to build that compelling future. But so few people, I don't deserve that. Even if you ask them and they could tell you, and then they'll immediately get into a story about why they don't deserve it, why they can't have it, why it's too. And I'm like, stop the why. Why just spins. I don't care about the why. What do you want? How do you know you have it? Because now we can build a ladder to get there. We can put strategy to get you there. Well, I don't deserve this. Okay, what leads you to believe you don't deserve it? Not why do you think you don't deserve it? Why do you feel? Why do you believe? That's all this. I don't care. What leads you to believe that? What has to be true for you to arrive at the conclusion, I don't deserve XYZ? Tell me more about that. And then we can extract out, and I'm listening for what are they believing? What are they reinforcing? What are they focusing on? Because the what and the how is the strategy. That's the actual game they're playing. And then we can unpack it and we can change it. Because all stories are true, but only some of them actually happen.
Yeah.
It's all just BS. It's our belief system. And it's a self-referential, a self-fulfilling system until you meet someone like you, someone like me, who interrupts that story and starts to ask questions to shift the focus to a more powerful story.
Yeah. You mentioned that the difference between working with a man and working with a dad. And I remember with my journey, shall we say, was one day I was kneeling on the living room floor of my house, bawling my eyes out because the wife had gone, she'd taken the kids. The relationship I had after that had fallen apart as well. I couldn't sell my house, so I couldn't afford to live in it. And I couldn't rent it out either. It's like, now, what do I do here?
Burn it down. No, bad thought.
Yeah.
Bad juju.
I thought about selling the few bits and pieces I got left and emigrating to New Zealand and completely starting again. But I've got 2 kids. And they need a dad.
Powerful.
They need a great dad. I don't know how to be that dad. So it's like, I can't run away. I've got to face this, but I don't know how. And it was just that moment of decision where, okay, I need to be a great dad. I need to transform who I am as a man. I need to create a great relationship as a result of that. Where do I start? I have no idea. And then I think it was that weekend I was scrolling through social media and there was a post from Tony Robbins saying something like, without love, you have nothing. And I thought, fuck me, I'll relate to that. And then in the comments under that, there was a comment from somebody called Julie saying, if you're looking for love, come over to this group of ultimate love and passion. So I did. And that is where we met.
Yes, sir.
That was a very tough decision to make, but at the same time, it's very easy. And to say it transformed my life would be an understatement.
Yeah, dude. You actually did the first step, right? To change anything, the first 2 steps is awareness and acceptance. You can't accept what you're not aware of, and what you're not aware of will run your destiny, right? And there's so much that lives in the unconscious that we don't want to face it. It's the Joseph Campbell, the cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. And it's true. Like, you're not going to grow staying in your comfort zone. You're not going to get freedom and release. Everything you desire is on the other side of your comfort zone. If we stay there, we're babies crawling around, crapping in our diapers, waiting for someone to feed us. And for a lot of people, they're so scared of the future or feel so unresourceful. Emotionally, they are regressed back to, I just want someone to take care of me. I just want to feel like I'm important to somebody, some way, some shape, somehow. And they take the lowest standard versus what their heart really craves and desires. And that's not wrong if we can recognize it, be aware of it. Awareness is a key. It opens a new door. But then you have to accept the responsibility, turn the handle, open the door, and walk through. And so with my clients, like, that's awareness is the first thing. Acceptance is the second thing. And then the magic where everything really pivots is appreciation of those first 2 steps. Because when you're aware and you accept, acceptance doesn't mean agreement. And appreciation doesn't necessarily mean always gratitude. Appreciation can also mean a part of me resonates or recognizes what you're going through because I've been through something similar. And that's where we have the birth of compassion. That's how we create room inside ourselves to breathe. Because when you're full up to here of yourself and your situation, there's only this much of you left for the rest of humanity. If you're completely empty of yourself, that's amazing, very high spiritual accomplishment if it's done from an integrated way. But if it's done from a wounded way and you're empty of yourself, now you're a doormat that's going to get manipulated and ripped apart. So I like to say halfway empty. You know where you stand. But then you've got this room to try new things and experiment and play. And that opens the door to what I call ownership, right? I don't do fault, blame, guilt, shame. Something happens with my wife, something happens with my kids. That's a moment of impact. I did this thing. It impacted them in this way. I can take ownership of that, not to say I'm the worst or I'm so bad at it. It's to say, oh, crap, that's how that landed for you? Not at all what I meant. I owe you an apology. I am so sorry. I made you feel unsafe, unseen, unheard. I made you feel unsafe. I never my intention. Do I need to go run and jump off a bridge? Would that make you feel better? Or could we do something slightly less? Okay, cool. Just checking. Just checking.
What would you do? She said yes.
Does it have to be a big, tall bridge or can it be a little tiny bridge? Right? I'm always using questions. But it's like, okay, now I've got ownership and now I have a response/ability. I have the ability to respond. But it's like, that's the master sequence in my experience. It's that awareness opens the door to acceptance. And once you accept, now everything else opens up. And that's what you did, is you had that realization, I'm in the shit and I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And this is for a lot of guys. That's exactly the problem. I know I need to make a change. I don't know where to get started. And rather than start, their instinct is to go in the cave until they have the right answer. And then life, time, tide, business, gotta feed the kids, gotta feed myself, just the minutia of day-to-day life. They never get that deeper experience. They never get that deeper shift until the pressure gets to the almost unbreakable point. It's like a lot of marriages that I work with guys on. She's separating, she's leaving because it's been 2, 3, 4 years of tension and pain, and you didn't wake up, you didn't adapt, you didn't iterate, you didn't get to a result. You just thought, if I love enough, or she's not complaining right now, things are good, and they ain't good.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to get these guys to catch this earlier, so we don't have to hit this critical failure, and we don't have to deal with the emotional abandonment or the physical abandonment. Because in the US, 10 divorced dads a day kill themselves. And there's a new stat I just came across a week or two ago. Divorced men of any age are 250% more likely to die than their same age men that are married. So, there's all this social media stuff and why get married and women are all blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you have a 250% chance of dying without a woman in your life because we don't pay attention to a bunch of stuff. We don't notice a bunch of stuff. So if you want to have a longer, healthier, happier life, marriage really is in your best interest, but you got to do it in a way that enriches you both, and it's a both and, not an either or. It's not a tit for tat. It's not a negotiation.
Yeah, I think where a lot of guys go wrong is they hear that saying, happy wife, happy life, and then she says, oh, I want this, so you do whatever it takes to get that, and then you get this, and then you do this, and then you do that, and she says this, and you end up she says jump, and you say how high. You lose yourself in the process. Yeah. She loses respect for you. She doesn't feel seen, safe, heard, and her needs aren't met because their way of communicating is very, very different to ours.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come across. We don't receive that message.
Not without training. Yeah. Well, it's like, it's not my job to make my wife happy, right? Because happiness is an inside job. Happiness is a decision, not a destination. It is my job to be aware of what her stressors are, what is contributing to her unhappiness, and then the two of us create together something better than what we have currently. But it's a co-creative, it's team. We're here to support each other. I call it's power partnership versus power couple, right? We're not here to bang and crash with each other, but it's what is her heart saying beneath the words, right? My wife needs date night every 7 to 10 days. That's not a want. It is a need, because after about 10 days, she starts to feel like burnt toast, and she's just depleted and she's exhausted. And it doesn't matter what we're doing in our lives. Every 7 to 10 days, she needs the two of us, no kids, no roles, just a boy likes a girl, girl likes a boy, out somewhere together with nobody else. That's what she needs. It doesn't make her needy. That's just what she needs to thrive. Oh, hey, I should take notes about her preferences during the week, and like, oh, she wants to have this food or that food, or she misses this or misses that. I'm taking notes. So then when I'm going to do a date night, I can go back and look at what's the things. Oh, let's do a picnic at the beach. It would be so awesome, because she talked about that and how she misses walking in the beach, and you know what I mean? Like she's dropping all these hints. Cool. I understand that style of communication. So I'm taking notes because I can't keep it all in my masculine brain. I've only got so much bandwidth, so I frickin' cheat to use the technology, guys.
Too right. And I think when we don't hear those little hints during the week, that's when they pick up that thing of, oh, he's not listening to me.
Right. And and part of that too, my wife will also just grab the bull by the horns and say, hey, you, me, dinner tonight, let's go. Yes, ma'am. Like she has agency, she has power, she will speak to her needs because she knows I want to win with her. And if I'm too in the weeds of my own stuff, I need a wake up call. And I'd rather she just get my attention. Don't throw a banana, don't throw a cat, don't throw a child. Just hand on the shoulder, eye contact. Hey babe, date night, next 2 days. Let's go. Yes, ma'am. Like I need that handling sometimes just because, I've got clients in 3 different time zones and all the things.
Sometimes direct communication is beautiful.
Women can be in their triangle. It's not a dysfunctional thing or a bad thing. It's flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like trying to say I'm just masculine or she's just feminine, whichever way it is. It's like trying to chop a magnet in half and say, I've got this North Pole over here, and you've got the South Pole over here. It doesn't work like that. You still have that North and South, however small it is.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I like, once people come into my world, it's circle and triangle, it's masculine, feminine. It's a both and, it's right brain, left brain. Because we all have a propensity or an availability in some level of ratio, because there are people on spectrum who don't have a lot of affect, and certain parts of their brain may not be wired in certain ways. Cool, you are where you are. And I had a student in my Kung Fu school at 17 when he came in, on spectrum, pretty heavy, personality of a toaster, preferred to talk to toasters. And within a year, I had him helping me with 4-year-olds, and he's using his eyebrows, and he's emoting, and he's making jokes. And he was doing things his parents never thought he would ever be capable of, simply because I didn't care about where we were. I was curious about where you want to go, and how do we build bridges to get there? And I was able to kind of enter his model of the world, and then begin to build bridges so he could connect his inner reality and understand the feedback loop from other people, right? Like a lot of kids that are on spectrum, eye contact is like, it fries their nervous system because there's so much information coming in, it just shuts them down. Cool, don't look at their eyes, look at their nose, look at their lips. Because for most people, and this is the thing I'll do in person with people, but it's like, if you look at people in the mouth, you see what they're saying. The other person feels like you're making eye contact. So they feel connected to you, but emotionally you're not connected to them in the same way, but you can see what's going on with them. And then as the kids get comfortable, then we'll go to the nose, then we'll go to the eyebrows. And then if they want to try it, we'll go to the eye. But we're teaching them how to have a different affect, how to have a different emotive structure. Because for other people, right, when you're talking to them and you never look at them and you're always looking away and you're always somewhere else, does that help them feel more connected or less connected?
Pretty less every time.
But if we could look at their mouth and see what they're saying, try that. See what response you get from people.
Yeah.
Let's just do it as an experiment. And that's how I built him over time. And that worked with him. Is that going to work with every kid on spectrum? No, because every single one is unique, just like all of us. But I'm experimenting. Right. I'm constantly just doing little things, little nudges, little tests to see what response I get. What's the feedback? Make adjustment. And so it's, to your point, it's not, oh, I'm just this or I'm just that. Do you have 2 hemispheres in your brain? Do you have a corpus callosum? Then your hemispheres are talking to each other. You can use both sides. You may have a gravity towards one versus the other, and that's fine. But it's recognize the availability and the full expression of your humanity is available too. We just got to play with it a little bit.
Yeah. When I talk about the masculine and feminine energies with my clients, if they're new to it, I say it's like rowing a boat down the river. You got that logical masculine oar and the nurturing feminine oar. To go in a straight line, you need both. But there are times where you've got to go around that bend, so you need more of one than the other. And to go around the other way, you need more of the other one.
Correct.
But if you only ever use one, you just go around in circles.
Yep. That's what a lot of people end up. They argue to be right versus to get results. And they're stuck. And it's like, well, if what you were doing was working, you'd be getting your results. True. So maybe let's play a different game just to see how it goes. It's not right or wrong or better or worse. It's just a different game. Let's see the result we get. And then do you like that result better? Your choice. But you already know it doesn't work because you're spinning your wheels. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'll never say I'm right. I have some suspicions of some things, but let's test it. I don't know, right? You tell me what's true for you, and let's find out, because I don't know. I just know my perspective.
Yeah,
that's all.
You're not inside their head.
I suspect some things. I've got a decent amount of training, a decent amount of experience, but I only just suspect. You tell me what's true, because I don't know for you. I can't speak for you. It's so much fun.
Who would you say has been the biggest influence on you and your journey through life?
I had 2. Both of them are dead, and they've been dead a really long time. When I was younger, it was St. Francis of Assisi. I got this comic book, and it was like talking through his life and stuff, and it was like super cool. And so I modeled a lot off of him. He went and did the Crusades and had a vision from God and came back and like became a monk. And his dad's like, "What are you doing?" Because he's like giving stuff away to the poor. And he's like, "Well, God wants me to do this thing and thing." And his dad's like, "What are you doing? You're stealing from me." And so his dad hauls him in front of like the bishop, and the bishop is like, "Give back everything you stole from your dad." So he takes all his clothes off and gives it to his dad and stands there naked in front of everyone. And his, "Whoa, what are you doing?" He's like, I don't recognize this man as my father. my father's the father in heaven. And it was such a because I had been abused at 5 and 6, and it was like such a strong example of like standing in truth. And it was like no punches pulled, totally just F the world, this is who I am, this is where I stand. I was like, dang, that's cool. And so that had a huge impact on me when I was young. And as I got a little bit older, I started getting into like cross-cultural studies and things. And then one of the two founding authors of what we call Taoism today, it's Lao Tzu and then Zhuangzi. And Lao Tzu is the guy that gets like most of the attention, but Zhuangzi he's just a fun dude. And there's a very famous, I forget his name, but there's a very famous cartoonist in China and in Taiwan. And he did this whole like Zen speaks, Buddhism speaks, Taoism speaks, Lao Tzu speaks, Zhuangzi speaks. And so he had all these different like big, heavy Chinese metaphysical writings, but done in comics. And I read that and like I was just giggling because of the constant playing inside like these ancient, huge metaphysical arguments made so simple and so easy to understand. And like one of the stories, right, is the subjectivity of knowledge. If our whole entire life, because like Zhuangzi is saying words have no intrinsic meaning, it's all made up. If we had always called the sky horse and the ground point, then that's horse and that's point. But if we're the only ones who know that and we're talking to other people who don't have those same meanings, we're never going to be able to communicate with each other because the meaning we're trying to convey is beyond the words themselves, which language is symbolic, right? It's representative of other things. When we say decade, if we were going to learn that through experience, we got to sit here for 10 years and then go, well, that thing that just happened. That's a really slow way to teach. And so for where I was as a kid, like, and a teenager, Zhuangzi was just brilliant. And just that getting into this metaphysical stuff about the nature of meaning and why do we do some of the things we do, like the best leaders do the least leading, right? The best government does the least governing, because what they do is they remove the resistance for people to just be authentically themselves. Because if we had an environment where people could just be authentically themselves, you tend to get the best out of them because they're not in the wound, they're not in the defensiveness. There's a story about a horse, and this guy's he's raising his horse, and it's like this beautiful horse, and it's wonderful. He did everything for this horse. He took care of it and fed it the best food and caught its urine in this special rare conch shell and everything he could do to really take care of this horse because he really loved this horse. And then one day there was this big nasty fly on the horse's butt. Without thinking, he reached out, smacked the fly, and the horse had never been treated like this before. It was shocked. And so instinctively, it kicked its leg out, hit the guy in the head, killed him. And it's like, oh my gosh. Well, then the conclusion of the story is just because you love someone doesn't mean they understand your love. And I was like, oh my Lord. Because he had done all these things to take away all this resistance and give this horse a perfect life. But this one moment of impact to protect the horse killed him accidentally. How many times do we jump to conclusions instead of like, wait, hold on a second, I heard you say this, and to me that means this thing. Is that what you meant, or did I miss something? Like, how many times could we feed back our experience in the moment before jumping to a conclusion? And it's like, oh, I saved myself so much misery and headache and heartache because that one moment of clarification, versus, well, you said, and I know that you mean, you bastard. And it's like, what just happened? All I said was I didn't want a salad. You don't love me. You don't love the food that I make. You hate me. What the, you know? So Zhuangzi and St. Francis of Assisi, which is not your typical masculine hero archetypes. They're really, one of them, kind of the monk energy. And then the other one was wizard, right? Transformation. So it's like my whole life has been about growth and expansion. And I was dating a girl one time when I was younger, and my mom said to her mom, she better grow or Jeremy's going to outpace her. And I did. And it wasn't anything I was conscious of. It was something my mom told me years later. But it was like, yeah, how do you not grow? How do you not expand from the impacts in your life? How do you not? Like, obviously you did something, you got what you didn't want, so just change. Right? Is that weird?
Not to me.
Yeah. I don't know. You and I are in the same orbit, dude. So it's like, yeah, just grow. Like I make a distinction though for my clients, like grow versus change. Because if you're in a relationship and you start to work on your growth, they're going to say, why are you changing now? Those are two different frames. right? Why are you changing now is I'm doing something to put pressure on you, and now you're changing because of my pressure, which means I don't trust you to continue without my pressure. So we have to take ownership and say, hey, I am changing, but because I'm growing. Because growth is an internal. Growth is I'm doing this for me and you and our family, but I'm growing because I'm becoming more of who I really am and what's really possible within me. It's self-driven. Change can't be trusted in an intimate relationship, in a marriage. Change is difficult because why are you changing? How am I punishing you or causing you pain to force you to change? And then I have to continue that momentum to continue to change. That's exhausting. I don't want to be this. I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to be this person with you. And that's where you got to take ownership of that and say, no, I'm not changing. I mean, yes, there are changes, but I'm not changing. I'm growing, right? Two massively different frames of reference. And a lot of times partners will weaponize the frame against each other without realizing it. They will label their experience. Like I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, yeah, no, your wife wants a divorce? Yeah, I agree with that. Tell her yes. But then you qualify the yes. But I'm not divorcing you. You are amazing and you deserve so much more of me than how I've been showing up. I'm divorcing our past relationship. I'm divorcing how I was showing up as a wounded little boy in our past relationship. And you're free to test me and you're free to hold my feet to the fire because I am growing. There will be changes because I am growing. So absolutely, yes, I'm getting a divorce from who I used to be and how I was showing up. And once he claims that space, her heart, like, oh my gosh, really? And then immediately, oh my God, does he really mean this? Because now unconsciously she's going to test. Is he for real? And as long as he accepts the testing and understands, hey, she has every right not to trust me because I have messed up. And that's the ownership part, right? I have messed up in the past. I have disappointed her. I have hurt her heart. 100%, dude. She has every right to trust me until she gets to the place that she doesn't have to test me anymore because I've passed the test, because the changes are real. I know they're real. She just needs to catch up. I can handle that. And that's how we activate the king, because now he's got this compelling future that's pulling him higher, pulling him deeper in love and life. And we're changing the whole schematic of their relationship. And of course, she's going to test. She has every right. Kick you in the nuts every day of the week if she has to, because of how hurt she is. But the fact that she's willing to test you means she's willing to trust you.
And she's still invested.
Yeah, she still cares and wants you. Because she already knew your full potential. That's why she's with you in the first place, right? And now you're starting to activate it. Now it's scary. What if he outgrows me? What if he doesn't need me anymore? And that's where you gotta reinforce that. That fear is real, and she's allowed to feel that way. So what's your answer, dude? Like how is she supposed to know and trust that you're not just gonna I don't need you anymore. I'm beyond you. It's like, you better have an answer. She's gonna get scared.
Yeah, I think that's why some women start to tell the guys when he says, oh, I'm going to start going down the gym, I want to get healthier, they say, oh no, you don't need to, you're fine the way you are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is he committed to following through on that decision? And sometimes I think it comes from their own story that, well, if he goes to the gym and gets fitter, does that mean I've got to sort myself out as well? Because I really don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah, 100%. It's a test, but it's like, are you going to stand in your truth, and are you going to move towards that future you see for yourself and for your marriage and for your family, or are you going to continue doing what you're doing? Because what you're doing is not working, or we wouldn't be talking. You wouldn't be listening to this content. You wouldn't be watching these types of videos. You wouldn't have come across me. You wouldn't have come across Alan. There's something going on that you're not happy about. Cool. How is staying the same going to solve that?
Was it Einstein that says to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of insanity?
I never met the guy, so I don't know that he actually said it, but the point is accurate, 100%.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you've always done. You'll keep getting what you've always gotten. How's that working? Right? And one thing I want to offer is something I want to share with you specifically, just to play with and see how it lands for you and your community, but really offer to the world is this. Like I already talked about mental health, mental illness, mental process. So I want to see mental process become the term, because that's actually what it is. It's not mental health or mental illness, right? It's process. Like ADHD, no, that's just a process. Is it biological? Is it conceptual? Whole other conversation, but a little bit of both. The thing I want to share, though, is for masculine, right? Think about a strong masculine leader. And does he live in his vulnerability, or does he live in a place of being raw, real, open, and honest, right? Because think about a masculine person, a protector, a provider, a visionary. If he's living in vulnerability, he's living in his wound. If he's being raw, real, open, and honest, he's able to express his most authentic self. Because vulnerability for masculine is to be at effect. To be raw, real, open, and honest is to be at cause. It's like, I'm choosing to share with you, here's what I'm going through, here's what I need, here's what I want, here's what I'm not okay with, here's what I'm worried about. He's being raw, real, open, and honest. He has ownership of all that. But if he's made to be vulnerable, vulnerability can be used against him. And you're not going to get the best out of him. But yet we have all these people in the world saying men need to be more vulnerable. And it's like, no, you will never get the best out of a man if he is forced to be vulnerable or he's told he has to be vulnerable, because vulnerability is a disempowerment for the masculine frame of reference. Raw, real, open, and honest, different. And if he's not used to that, you're going to get a lot of anger because there's a lot of back pressure that's been held back. Like you and I know when guys get angry, we express like usually about 10% of what we're actually feeling. There's so much more behind it that we're holding back. So the raw, real, open, honest, you're going to get usually the first time this big onslaught of emotion that's just back pressure. And then once he's purged that and we weather that storm and don't weaponize it or make him wrong, then it's easier to stay in that place of raw, real, open, and honest. So just kind of noodle on that, notice that experience, and just as you're playing with specifically men, but I'm finding it to be a much more powerful place.
When you step outside of that comfort zone, being raw, real, open, and honest, it can feel vulnerable to start with, because it can feel like exposed because you're not used to it. But over time, that comfort zone then expands to match where you're now at.
Yeah.
And I think to be exposed takes courage, which is a strength.
Yup.
And then how you describe vulnerability as being a weakness, it depends how it's framed up, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if I just go, here's all my shit, and that doesn't expose me in a fun way, it puts me at risk of all sorts of emotional daggers, whatever they may be.
Yeah.
Which you could say is also courageous. You could also say it's bloody stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's why to the masculine frame, vulnerability is not power.
Yeah.
To the feminine frame, vulnerability is truth. It's different. And that's why I frame it as masculine versus feminine, not men, not women. But to the masculine frame, that raw, real, open, honest. And I haven't heard anybody else talk about it like this because I'm not in a place of wound and I'm not in a place of having to assert power. Because if you are power, you are power, and you don't care. So if this resonates, if this serves, awesome. If it doesn't, awesome. It's just feedback, but it's something I'm noticing, and I've got a bunch of friends that are in men's coaches or in the men's space. I'm offering this as a frame. I haven't seen anybody else talk about it or heard anybody else talk about it, but it's separating out, like, how do we help men to thrive and get away from that incel, because incel is ultimately wound. And red pill, men going their own way, all of that is still wound, because it's all of this, I don't feel powerful, my inner child's not safe, I have to overcompensate to keep it safe. And they get locked in this dyad, nurture the boy, mash the man, nurture the boy, mash the man, and they'll never truly access king. There'll be a pantomime of a boy's fantasy of what it means to be a king. It's like we talk about white knight or knight in shining armor versus red knight versus black knight, right? Knight in shining armor hasn't been tested. It's a boy with his theories and ideas. The white knight is an illusion. It's this fantasy, wish fulfillment, pretend, make-believe thing. The red knight is that second level master of the man. That's the guy that's in the battle and bloody, and he's going after everything, and he's all about himself and his passion and wants and craving and desiring. But you get to a guy who's seasoned. That's that black knight. He knows what he's capable of in the light and the dark. His armor is tainted, tarnished. He's got cracks. He's got damage. But he's got a sense of self-possession, a sense of humor about his own foibles and room to grow. He's not constantly on the offense, blood everywhere, red knight, and he's not some idealized make-believe. A man who's seasoned and tempered, it's a different creature. And he doesn't have, like, there's, these influencers are like, I saw some guy and he's like, oh, when you're like, and he's all ripped and jacked and everything, because when you walk in a room, people pay attention. And it's like, for a moment. But if all you can do is flex and posture, look how hard my workouts are. It's like, okay, cool. And what else?
Well, that's if it's come about as a result of workouts rather than steroids or anything like that.
Yeah. Again, wounds. Yeah. But it's like you worked really hard to get those muscles. Fantastic. Correlation's not causation, dude. Just because you got big muscles, so what? You have time in your day to lift big, heavy stuff. Congratulations.
Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. Why you have the power. Fantastic. For what purpose? Yourself or the world around you? Because a king is about legacy, is about the kingdom, is about the community, is about protecting and providing what people actually need at the level they're at. It's not about himself. It's not notice me. It's not pay attention to me. It's not validate me. If he had zero attention, could still get his result. Yeah, let's do that. Don't care. Don't need it. But not afraid to receive it either. If people give him acknowledgement, it's like, thank you, appreciate that. So it's not like, oh, no, it's no big deal. Like that can also be a wound. It's like, why can't you accept a compliment, numbnuts? You just say thank you. Hey, thanks. That was really nice. But you're not chasing it. Yeah, hey. But it's like we're playful about it because like I'm a human being. Sometimes I worked really hard on this. I wanted to make you really happy or offer you the opportunity to be really happy if I'm being pedantic. But damn it, woman, did I get my gold star today? Okay, good, I did. Yes, yay me. It's not wrong to have that inner child, right? Yeah. Let him out and let him play, but in a safe container, and he can be a visionary. Like yes, and please, all three. Boy, man, king, all three, alive and playing. Hell yeah, game on.
Yeah, what I find with the king energy is, especially in the intimate relationship space, there is nothing better than that energy for her to feel safe, seen, and not sure drop in is the right word, possibly enter her feminine energy, that loving, nurturing. In the movie Stardust, when the girl gets a hug off her man at the end and she just shines like a star.
Yeah. Well, I would say flow into her feminine. But yeah. Because there's no resistance to her just being the fullest expression of herself. Like my wife and I were talking about it like maybe a year ago or so, and she sometimes gets really pissed off at herself for how feminine she is with me, because she's like, I've never cried this much in my life and I hate it. But I mean, I need it and I understand it. But God, you know, it's like I'm not trying to make you anywhere, you know, because she can move in her masculine and her feminine pretty well. Yeah. It's like, I'm not trying to make you anything, but I really appreciate that you're available. And she's like, fuck you. I mean, I love you, but yeah. It's like,
yeah, my other half asked me what I'd done to break her when we not long got together. So, what do you mean? She says, I keep crying. So, what's wrong with that? You obviously need to, and you feel safe to.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, she's having a disconnect with her ex-husband, and he's saying, so you're so non-emotional. And I thought, well, maybe that's the way you show up.
Yeah. Well, she had to be with him to protect herself, which is maybe why they're exes. Maybe there's patterns there because there's stories there. I don't know. It's just games, right? Yeah. It's
because their dynamic was, she was definitely the masculine one, he was the feminine one, and still is.
Yeah.
And in my marriage, I was probably more the feminine one. Certainly had a lot of wounds, and so did she.
Yeah.
But now we've sort of switch things over, and it works so much more peaceful.
Yeah. And part of it too, there are guys who are naturally more feminine, heterosexual, homosexual, doesn't matter. But there's guys who are naturally more feminine. That's just who they are. It's not a defense mechanism. It's not an overcompensation for a wound. That's just the way they're wired. And there's women that are more in a masculine frame, and they're dynamic, and they take charge, and they're assertive, and they drive, and they're aggressive, and all the things. And it's not a defense mechanism. It's not an overcompensation. It's just who they are. So it's like, don't make the person wrong for their expression of themselves. Just meet them where they are. And over time, you'll find, oh, this is a wound, or it's not a wound, or whatever. But it's just recognizing that authenticity. And the more we make it safe, like the work I do with families, and especially with kids, if we can teach kids to do two things. One is create their own emotional safety, and two, respect and assert their own boundaries, like respect other people's boundaries, assert their own boundaries. Those two skills, we transform the human species, right? Because if we can raise a generation that can create their own emotional safety, I don't need you to give me my emotional safety. I can do it myself. If you want to help me to have my own emotional safety, hell yeah, it's a double whammy. I got it inside and outside, game on, even better. And then the asserting and respecting boundaries is just being able to articulate our needs and our wants, our musts and our must nevers, what we'd love to give, what we'd love to receive, in a way that works for ourselves and works for other people. It's co-creative. If we could give those two skills to all of humanity, there's so much garbage that goes on between us as a species that would just disappear, because it's no longer, oh, you're refusing to receive the thing I'm giving you. It's, Oh, that doesn't work for you? Well, thanks for the feedback. Is there a different way I could approach this that will work for you better? Totally changes because it opens all the frames instead of making it about ourselves. It's where are you at? What do you need? Cool. I can provide that. Here's what would delight me. This would delight you? Let's do that. Oh,
yes, just understanding love languages for the first time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, love languages, 6 human needs, spiral dynamics. Like there's so many frames we can stick in to help kind of open up the matrix. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, let me understand you and your needs and wants, and that delights me. Right. I have a client who's 55, and she was dating a guy an hour away, and she needs a good morning text. And she's like, does that make me needy? I'm like, nah, it's what you need. It's what you need. End of conversation. Right. She needs a good morning text. If she doesn't get it, because they're both in their 50s, is he okay? Did he have a heart attack? Did he get in a car accident? Is he mad at me? Like, she gets into her head if she doesn't get that. But if she gets it, good morning, beautiful. Hey, how'd you sleep? Like, just a little acknowledgement. She starts her day off right as rain. Good to go. He's twice divorced. And I'm not going to have a woman tell me what to do. She can't win that game with him because she says this is what I need, and he's going to not do it because I'm not going to be told because he's in his wound. That relationship failed. So I had her like get clear on needs, wants, love to give, receive, must, nevers, write that down, start sharing that on dates, first date. Well, but I want to find out if I like him first. Oh, so you want to catch feels and then find out there's a rule violation that you would never win with this guy. Does that seem like a smart thing to do at your age? Or is it just like lead with what you want and the right guy is going to be like, hell yeah, tell me more. Well, next month will be a year of her being with a guy, hell yeah, tell me more. And at 55 years old, she giggles like a schoolgirl, and she's scared yet delighted that this guy exists because he thinks the sun shines out her butt. And yeah, he makes mistakes, but he's willing to take ownership and grow with her because he loves her 5 to thrive, and it delights him to know how to win with her. And it's the cutest thing to listen to her gush at 55. It's like, because the age doesn't matter, guys. It's energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could pick up a magic telephone and call the teenage version of yourself, what would they need to hear from you today?
2 things. 1, buy Bitcoin when it's $10. sell it at 60,000. That won't make sense now, but give it time and it will. And honestly, where I was as a teenager, like I would tell me to go check out Way of the Superior Man. Like all the stuff you're looking into is great. Seventh World of Chan, really start with Seventh World of Chan and then go to Way of the Superior Man, and you will be light years ahead. But my teenage self, like Alison Armstrong, was just starting her work when I was a teenager. So like trying to find her stuff. I'm not even sure when Daida wrote Way of the Superior Man. Seventh World of Chan, I'm pretty sure was there when I was a teenager. But like, dude, keep going. It's worth the journey.
I didn't come across any of them until I was in my 30s.
I read the Seventh World of Chan when I was 25. And I reread it every 5 years just because the printed copy that I have on my nightstand has more stuff in it every time I read it. And I knew the author, Mingzen Sakei. I knew her. We had email exchanges for a while. She's passed away now, 3 years. Brilliant, just brilliant topic. And if you have teenagers, go find Seventh World of Chan, and with them, read The Psychology of Disillusionment. It's part 2, chapters 5 to 9. Read those together because it maps Jung's depth psychology and archetype projection, archetype integration. It maps that into the Buddhist concept of 6 worlds of samsara. There's these 6 different compensation mechanisms people use to protect their ego. And then they tell a story about a guy like how is someone supposed to integrate their archetypes 1,000 years ago, and here's how it went. And then here's what happens in modern society and why we get stuck up and manipulated and attached and scared. And it's absolutely brilliant. And pay them like $10 a chapter, $100 a chapter to like literally go through it with you. The return on that investment will save them so much headache and heartache when it comes to suffering and misery and pain, because they will have such a deeper humanistic understanding of psychology. And when I say humanistic, I mean humanizing, because it's like you begin to understand all of us have stuff that's not resolved. And it's this continual growth and iterative process to get that healing. It's freaking like I'm taking my stepson through it slowly, bit by bit, because it explains so much of why we cause our own misery and suffering. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's still going to be pain in life. There's going to be, missed opportunities and hurt feelings because we're human beings. but the suffering piece we can unplug. And if I had had that when I was a teenager, the journey would have been a little bit easier, I think. And then if I invested Bitcoin at $10 and sold it at 60,000, that would have been a good life. I still hear my wife was like, well, I did tell you to buy it when it was 100. And I said, you are 100% right. And I messed that. But there's always opportunities like that. So,
Yeah. So how can anyone listening to this find you, reach out to you?
I am the only Jeremy Roadruck on the internet. There's only 300-ish Roadrucks, and I'm the only Jeremy, and I am not shy. So just Google my name. I'm everywhere. You can find me most often on Facebook, Jeremy Ard, but Jeremy Roadruck. And yeah, just feel free to reach out. Questions, comments. I do a 15-minute with anybody just to help kind of where you're at, what's going on, where do you want to be, and maybe we'll explore working together, but maybe it's go listen to this podcast, go listen to let me connect with a buddy of mine, read this book. Like I've got at this point, how old am I? Okay, so I've got like 43 years of personal development and over 28 years of helping people professionally in various ways from 3 to 94. So I've been through a bunch of stuff and I've had clients go through a bunch of stuff. When I say there's no fault, blame, guilt, shame, I mean it. You are where you are. Where do you want to be? That's all that matters to me. We've all done dumb stuff. We've all hurt people. We've all been hurt, but you're still here.
Hurt ourselves.
Yeah. You're still here. Where do you want to go? Let's get there. Well, let's get the BS, the belief systems into alignment to get you where you want to go. And it doesn't have to take years, decades. It doesn't even sometimes have to take months. Sometimes it can take just a couple of days. It could even be one conversation that transforms your entire life. Just the right question. Mm-hmm.
And on that note, final question, which nobody gets primed for. As this podcast is called Relationship Revolutions,
yes.
What is one thing that will bring a revolution or evolution to the world of dating and relationships?
Yeah. So there's two ways to grow. You can revolt or you can evolve. To revolt is to go into the pain and hit a point of threshold. How I'm living is not who I am. That's your identity shift. Change is easy. Change gets you out of the pain, but change is not growth. Change is not going to get you to that compelling future. So you can go into the pain and you can come out of the pain and you can shift your identity and then you can grow and get your compelling future. And that's a whole process. Or you can hit a decision point and get coaching, get support, get guidance from someone further ahead to jump the pain, jump the gap, pivot your identity and evolve and grow faster. So if it takes you a year of pain, a year of recovery, and then 2 years of growth, cool. Or you hit that realization, get the coaching and jump the 2 years of pain and recovery, then you can just evolve and then you get where you want to go twice as fast. And this is said by a guy who didn't do that and spent 2 years emotionally dead after a breakup and did a lot to violate my values and rules, got locked in a bottle for 18 months, like 4 to 5 bottles of wine a week, every night to go to bed kind of thing. I went into the pain and I went very far into the pain. And the danger of going into the pain is your identity gets locked there and you begin to think you are this lower vibration, this lower level of energy. So you can go into the pain and revolt, or you can choose to evolve past it and jump the gap. And that's why guys like me and Alan exist. Because we've been through the pain. We've been through the pain and the misery. Let us save you some time. Let us save you your life and help you get to where you want to go further, farther, faster.
Yeah, I took 10 years reading just about every relationship book I could find, going to every seminar I could find. And in the end, it was a case of, well, that bit's nonsense. That doesn't fit for me. That doesn't fit for me. And then you get left with who I am and what I do now.
Yeah. The DIY trial and error is slow. It works, but it's slow, right? I have a list of about 150 books. Some people are like, oh, what book would you recommend? I'm like, well, here's a primer, not exhaustive, but here's a primer. And it's like this huge list. And it's like, you can DIY it and go through all of that, or you can just hire me and we can just like get to your result. And then you can go back and check the rest of that stuff if you want, if there's a need still.
Yeah.
Your choice. I'm here to support you. I'm not here to judge.
You either pay with the money or pay with the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. But what if you could get where you want to be like this weekend? What's that worth to you?
And that is a great question to leave everybody with.
Hell yeah, it is. I mean, but in a loving way.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on, Jeremy. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And I'm sure we will speak again at some point in the future.
At least in the next 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's counting? Time is an illusion.
It is indeed.
Thank you for listening. And if you haven't already, please leave me a review on your preferred podcast platform. Click the like button and also subscribe so that you get the new episode notifications. I'm curious, what did you take away from this episode? Please share your takeaways with me. Send me an email to relationship-revolutions@theloveengineer.rocks.